Welcome to session 3 of the Unit 5.5 notes. We've just gone over the geography illustrating Russia, Japan, and the section known as the Far East. Let's go ahead and take a look at what exactly is happening in Russia, because Russia is one of our great power countries we need to understand. So pre-World War I Russia, make sure you're annotating this. Again, while we go through the actions that Russia took before the war, we're going to find that there are 4 circles you will need to annotate with either an M, A, I, or N, or maybe even multiple of those letters, okay? So pre-World War I Russian actions, Russia lost the Russo-Japanese War. So Russo meaning Russia, Japanese being Japan. And so what we're going to find is that in the Russo-Japanese War, the war between Russia and Japan, Russia lost. Now, this loss ended Russia's attempts to conquer land in the Far East. And so if you look back at that map with section 3, that Far East section, that was the section that Russia was trying to take over, trying to conquer. Go ahead and annotate the main background cause, an M, A, I, or N, to go ahead and illustrate what this bullet point is telling us about Russia's actions. Now, aside from stopping their conquest for land, Russia also had to kind of like shift its attention in some other aspects. They decided to shift their attention away from the Far East. Okay, fine. If we lost the war to Japan and we can no longer take land from the Far East because Japan is now taking that land, okay, fine. We, Russia, will take that land from somewhere else. And so they shifted their attention for land to Europe. And specifically, they decided that they wanted to start taking land in the area known as the Balkan Peninsula. The Balkan Peninsula kind of cut off a little bit here, but it's basically this little small portion of land down here in southeastern Europe. And if you remember from the lecture notes, Unit 5.4, the Balkan Peninsula is where World War I starts. So maybe Russia's actions for taking land, maybe that's going to cause World War I. I don't know. We'll see. But they specifically decide to start taking land in the Balkan Peninsula where many Slavs lived. Go ahead and annotate in this circle which of the main background causes this bullet point tells us Russia is practicing. Now, if you don't know what a Slav is, that's okay. I'll explain to you. A Slav is a person, and so Slavs with an S, Slavs is basically many Slavic people put together. And the Slavic people are just a group of people from many different countries. For example, they come from countries like Croatia, Bulgaria, Bosnia, Belarus. They come from the Czech Republic. They come from Russia. All these different countries around the world have people that are Slavic. And even though these people are from different countries, they're Slavic because they speak a Slavic language. They're Slavic because they have a Slavic culture. So pretty much think of Slavic like the word Hispanic. Hispanics are people that come from many different countries. You can be Hispanic and come from Colombia. You can be Hispanic and come from Venezuela or Mexico or Argentina or Peru or Ecuador or Belize, right? Hispanics come from many different countries, but they consider themselves Hispanic because they speak a common language, which is Spanish. Now, the Spanish spoken in Mexico sounds a little different from the Spanish spoken in Colombia, which sounds different from the Spanish spoken in Ecuador, which sounds different from the Spanish spoken in Chile, but all of that Spanish is Spanish. And Hispanics speak Spanish, and Hispanics have very similar cultures. They are Hispanic Latin cultures. So think of Slavics kind of like Hispanics, a group of people from many different countries who have many different places that they come from, but they speak similar languages and have similar customs. Now, if we take a look at this bullet point we already talked about, the Russians are going to want to start taking land from Europe, specifically in the Balkan Peninsula, because that's where many Slavs lived. And Russia wanted to unite all the Slavic people. Again, the Slavic people are a group of Europeans that speak a similar language and have a similar culture. And Russian people are also Slavic. So Russia, can't really see it, but it's this green country right here off to the side. Russia basically has lots of Slavic people, and Russia saw that there were lots of Slavic people all over Europe, specifically lots of Slavic people here in the Balkan Peninsula. And so Russia decided, well, if we are Slavic and lots of our Slavic brothers and sisters are located all over Europe, then we, Russia, should go into that land and conquer it. We should take that land in order to unite and create one big Slavic country for all the Slavic people. Go ahead and annotate which main background cause Russia is practicing here by taking territory to unite their Slavic people. If you think it might be multiple background causes, then you can go ahead and write multiple letters in this circle. Now, like I mentioned, why is Russia going to try to unite the Slavic people by conquering more territory? Well, the Russians, they saw themselves as the protectors of the Slavs. We're Slavic, we want to protect our people Slavs, so we're going to take territory to unite them into one big Slavic proud country. Now, when Russia decides that it wants to go down here into the Balkan Peninsula, when they decide to go down into this territory to take land, to unite the Slavs and create a Slavic country, they pissed off someone known as the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. The Austrian-Hungarian Empire is basically this territory right here. I apologize that it's not showing on the PowerPoint, but you can take a look at your map. This big chunk of territory right here is the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. Remember that an empire is a bully country that's basically conquered little countries. So Austria-Hungary is a big bully, and they've conquered lots of people. They've conquered lots of Slavs that live here. Russia out here is not happy about that, so Russia decides to go into Austria-Hungary to take some of this territory. Austria-Hungary is not going to want to give up some of its territory. And so this intensified the old rivalry that Russia had with Austria-Hungary. Okay? Go ahead and make an annotation here for which main background cause or causes we currently see Russia practicing. Again, I'm not going to be giving you the answers for these 4 yellow circles. If you'd like to check your work, you can check in with a teacher or you can check in with a classmate. So now that we've completed the Unit 5.5 lecture, we should be able to jump into our exit ticket. Let's take a look at the directions. You're going to independently complete the objective reflection sentence starter. Here's that sentence starter for you here. My level of mastery on the relationships between the great powers. Remember, today we focused on France, Germany, Russia, and Great Britain. So what is your level of mastery on the relationship between those 4 countries before World War I? What were they acting like before the war? Do you feel that you can explain that proficiently, in a developing manner, in a beginning manner, or your knowledge is very limited? Go ahead and circle one of these proficiency levels and then explain why you gave yourself that ranking. Once you're done with the objective reflection sentence starter, you're going to jump into the Great Powers chart, and you're going to complete this chart by using your Unit 5.5 notes. So let's take a look at this chart together. This chart gives us the list of the 4 great powers that we learned about today. It also has a section for you to describe one action each power took before World War I and a second action that country took before World War I. So perfect example. Let's take a look at country 1, Germany. Go back to the Germany slides and take a look at the information we jotted down. Once you found the information, go ahead and complete the sentence starters. Before World War I, Germany, and then tell me what Germany did. Before World War I, again, give me a second action which Germany took. Once you've jotted down those 2 actions, now you need to figure out, is that action an example of militarism, an example of alliances, an example of imperialism, or an example of militarism? Go ahead and circle the main background cause that great power was showing. Now, for some of our bullet points, it could be 2, or 3 main background causes. So you could circle several of these terms depending on what action your country took. Once you're done circling the main background causes demonstrated by the action, go ahead and explain how you know that is militarism, alliances, imperialism, or nationalism. So for example, let's do number 1 together for Germany. Before World War I know that Germany decided to gain more colonies in Africa. So I would write, Germany decided to gain more colonies in Africa. Jot that down, I'm giving you a freebie. Germany decided to gain more colonies in Africa. Which was an example of, that's an example of imperialism. So I'm going to circle imperialism because imperialism is when you take territory from another country or people. So in this first action, I've identified Germany before World War I was taking territory from Africa, which is an example of imperialism because imperialism means to take territory away. I've just given you a freebie answer for Germany number 1. Now you need to complete that same process for Germany action number 2. And then you're going to go into France, Great Britain, and Russia, and you're going to complete the same action number 1 analysis for those 3 countries, and then action number 2 analysis for those countries again. Once you've completed the entire exit ticket, if there's enough time left in class, I highly recommend that you jump into the Unit 5 Formative Assessment 2 to get that knocked out of the way so that you don't have homework or have very little homework over the weekend. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns over this podcast or the content covered, please be sure to reach out to your teacher, either in class or via email. This podcast will be uploaded onto Google Classroom and left there so you can access it over the weekend if needed. Don't forget to turn in your exit ticket before you leave today.